We see water every single day. We drink it, we use it. We completely depend on it. But what if it's more than just a substance? So today, we're going to dive into the really profound spiritual and ecological meaning of water, all through the lens of the Qur'an, where every single drop is seen as this flowing sign of divine mercy.
Right off the bat, the Qur'an hits us with this powerful, kind of mysterious image. You've got two huge seas meeting right up against each other, but they don't mix. They're held in this perfect, unseen balance. Now, this isn't just pretty poetry. It's a huge statement about order and boundaries and a divine wisdom that's woven right into the fabric of our world. And, that image of balance, that's just the beginning. The Qur'an uses water to talk about some of its deepest concepts. It's not just H2O, right? It's a divine sign, a symbol with so many layers. So let's start to unpack this together. And boom, here the Qur'an just gets right to the very core of existence. This is the first big idea we're going to look at: water as the source of all life. It's presented as this direct challenge, almost saying, hey, if you want proof of a creator, just look at the most basic thing that makes you, you. And think about what that really means. This one simple idea has this huge implication. It basically frames water as a direct symbol of creative power. From this point of view, every cell, every plant, every single animal, it all becomes proof of this truth. Nature isn't just some random accident, it's a deliberate, orchestrated act, and water is right there at the origin. Okay, let's add another layer to this. Here, water is explicitly linked not just to creation, but to mercy. The verse describes this beautiful natural process, the winds bringing the rain, and it reframes it as a divine gift, a good tiding that shows up just before the mercy of pure water arrives. So this means that rain and pure water, they're not just part of the hydrological cycle, they're framed as these tangible expressions of ongoing care and love. This is divine provision in action, quenching thirst, bringing the land back to life, and sustaining all of creation. It's mercy you can literally feel and taste. Amazing! And this is where we see the ultimate spiritual picture of water. In the Qur'an's description of paradise, water is a central key feature. But notice the specific wording, unpolluted water. That little detail points to a state of absolute purity and perfect peace. So this imagery, it's basically a parable for the afterlife. Pure, flowing water becomes the ultimate symbol for eternal reward, for tranquility, and for spiritual purification. It's the ultimate refreshment for the soul, a promise of this endless, untainted peace. All right, so now let's pivot from these really deep symbols to something that is incredibly modern and urgent. See, these ancient ideas don't just exist in a book. They actually form the foundation of a powerful environmental ethic that is, honestly, more relevant today than ever before. We all know today that oceans and rivers are literally the lifeblood of our planet. They regulate our climate, they support countless species, provide food for billions, and they even have their own natural cycles of purification. And it's just fascinating how this modern scientific understanding perfectly mirrors that ancient spiritual truth of water as a life giver. And this brings us to a really core Islamic environmental principle, mizan, or the divine balance. The whole idea is that the universe was created in this perfect, delicate equilibrium. So things like pollution and overfishing, they're not just ecological problems. They are seen as violations of the sacred balance. And running right alongside that is the concept of amānah, or the sacred trust. This frames humanity's role not as owners of the earth, but as its guardians, its stewards. So protecting our oceans and rivers, well, it becomes this profound spiritual duty. It's about fulfilling our trust with the Creator. So, the big question is, how do these ideas actually translate into action? For that, we can look to the life of the Prophet Muhammad, who didn't just teach these values, he actually lived them. He didn't just talk the talk. His example gives us a real, tangible model to follow. This saying is so incredibly practical and revealing. In just one simple statement, the Prophet affirms the sea as a source of both spiritual purity and physical sustenance. It shows this deep respect for the ocean as a self-sustaining divine blessing that's here to provide for us. And you can see this respect in his everyday actions. When he performed ablution for prayer, he was incredibly mindful, never wasteful. He even went so far as to forbid his followers from polluting water sources, even in the middle of a conflict. It all just paints this picture of a life that's lived in gratitude and total harmony with the natural world. Which, of course, brings this all right back to us here and now. This isn't just a history lesson or some abstract theology. This entire framework, from the symbols in the Qur'an to the prophet's living example, it serves as this powerful call for our own personal reflection and, well, our action. So this leaves us with some pretty profound questions to think about. First up, can we really shift our own perspective? Can we look at a river and not just see water, but see a flowing sign of power and mercy? Can we connect with nature on that much deeper spiritual level? And if we do that, if we really start to see it differently, then we have to bring that new understanding into our daily lives. It forces us to ask, are we truly mindful of our own impact? The plastic we use, the products we buy, do we ever stop and think about how those choices affect that sacred trust we're supposed to be protecting? And finally, this is where it all leads, right? It becomes this powerful call to do something. It's not just about seeing or thinking anymore. It's about doing. What is our personal role in upholding that divine balance, the mizan? How can we, in our own lives, in our own communities, actively work to restore and protect the health of our planet's water? And that leaves us with this one last thought to chew on. What would change in our world, in our actions, in our own hearts? What would actually change if we truly saw every single drop of water, not just as H2O, but as a tangible, flowing sign of mercy? Just think about that. What would change then?